everybody. Thanks for joining today. I'm Chris French. I'm head of our private wealth business here in Europe, Middle East, Africa. And I'm really delighted to be introducing a topic which is of great interest to me, but it's also of great interest to many of our clients around the world, that of fine wine. And who better to interview than my great friend, Arnaud Christiaens, who's here this morning. And he's going to be talking to us about his passion, about his business, and also about something which is very timely in all of the investments that we think around the world about, which is disruption. So let me firstly introduce Arnaud. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted.
So let's talk about wine. And in particular, many of our clients around the world are interested in wine. And obviously there's the Napa Valley contingent, there's the Australian wines, all of the new world wines that are coming through. But still really at the heart of many wine lovers is that passion for Bordeaux, which is really where your focus is. Why did you, or how did you come to be focused upon Bordeaux as a concept? And why would you choose the most powerful center of wine in the world to be a disruptor?
Well, that's a long story. So actually, it was not meant to be this way. When I started this venture, I was just in Bordeaux to do my own wine cellar. And after a week of having seen many estates, this idea came into my mind because there were two shocking points, I would say. The first one was, the famous ranking of 1855, where they ranked only 61 red wine. And as you probably know today, there is more than 10 to 12,000 labels in Bordeaux. So I was very surprised that there were zero newcomer in that ranking in more than 160 years. So that was the first point that obviously raised my interest. And the second point was everyone was talking about the winemaking process, but not really anybody was talking about soil. And I wanted to understand the soil better. After many, many questions about soil, I realized that people were talking a lot about the terroir and not that much about soil. But the terroir for me was a bit of a vague concept. I wanted to understand much more than that. I wanted to understand what is the common ground between Lafite, Latour, Petrus, Aubryon, all those iconic brands and some of my favorite wine. And it turns out that the soil specialists I've seen were not really, able to tell us what was the common point. They were always saying, oh, no, in Bordeaux it doesn't work this way. So, in Bordeaux, it's more about the fact that every soil is so unique.
Mm-hmm. So let me stop you there, because you're talking in a level of detail on soil. As you say, many people wouldn't think of soil, and when you talk about wine, you talk about the profile of the land, the sun, the irrigation, the temperature, the frost, and the damage that can cause. But the company that you have founded, SGC, is Le Secret des Grands Crus, the secrets of the Grand Cru. Is this the one secret that people haven't really focused upon?
Yes, it's actually, you would be surprised how many people tell us today, well, it's so obvious, we don't understand, nobody has done that before. Because what we do essentially is ranking soil. So instead of buying vineyards, we run soil analysis in many, many vineyards, and we put everybody on the same scale out of 20 points. And for example, for our first wine, any piece of land that scores more than 17 points out of 20 is the one where we want to produce on. It's very rare to find 17 points and above. It's easy to find, maybe easier to find 15 to 17 points, but 17 and above, it's very rare.
Oh no, the selection of the individual parcels is clearly critical. How do you go about that?
So we break down the soil in 4 pillars, which are different layer of ground, nitrogen level, irrigation, and strength of the vine, what we call the vigor. For each of those pillars, we have a precise analysis that goes to the lab and help us to identify out of the specific parcels where are the best plots of soil. It's interesting because usually when you look at a vineyard, people think it's pretty much even, but it's not at all. It's a patchwork of different type of quality. And actually, it's a patchwork, not only at the level of the vineyard, but at the level of each individual parcel. You can have like 15 meters extraordinary and have 5 meters attached to it that are not good at all. The very last end of the soil analysis process is from the grapes itself. So we have to wait. It's a whole cycle that takes more or less a year, because the airborne footage techniques are taken usually during the summer. Then in September you have the harvest. And just before the harvest, when the grapes are on the vine, that's where we take each of them, we send it to the lab, and analyzing those grapes help us to understand all what is inside the soil. So the whole circle takes more or less a year.
Amazing. So there are a number of different variables in wine. Soil clearly is a critical one that you've produced an incredible depth of analysis on. How do you control the vagaries of climate? You can analyze the soil, but you can't determine the amount of sunshine, you can't determine the frost, you can't determine necessarily the rain and the irrigation. Are these other factors things that you also do look to control over time in order to get a continuous homogeneous product over the years?
That's true. We cannot control those factors, and that's also the beauty of European wines, by opposition, and nothing against them, because I love them too. But for example, if you take American wine, and especially the wine from Napa, the climate is very constant all year long. So there is not those variation of temperature that creates some different wines, if you see what I mean. In Europe, in France, in Bordeaux, there is a huge difference of climate from one year to another. And that makes the vintages so interesting for collectors. Should I take these vintages or this one because it was dry, or it was hot, or it was whatever. For us, I see it very much like the 2.0 version of the wine industry. Don't rank the wine, rank the soil. Because when you rank the soil, you create, to speak a financier, you create a consistency in generating alpha. So the idea is, yes, you're right, the climate change every year, but if you have a good ground and good soil, technically, you should overperform your peers.
So on a journey like this, there's going to be highs, some of which you described, and significant lows and disappointments. What was the most challenging time that you faced?
Well, everything was difficult, Chris, everything. But clearly, that first bit with the vineyard was the most difficult, to get them involved. But, some businesses are very difficult from the beginning, and it's difficult and more difficult. This one is like a flower that keeps opening. It's unbelievable. Since 2006, basically, the flowers keep opening and opening. So it's not an easy path. But where we are today, we are very happy of what we've done, because we can see that people are really engaging, people love it, and it took a lot of time to convince the mind of the people that are born with 1855 that something else could exist in Bordeaux. I think as of today, it's really the new lighthouse over Bordeaux, because for our first wine, it's maybe a true scarcity with 17 points and above, and few vineyards they need to have the quality of soil. So we will keep looking, but that's difficult to source. But for many others that have not been able to be part of that ranking of 1855 and have been left on the side, all of a sudden to be able to produce a wine on soil from 15 to 17 or 13 to 15 for SGC3 makes sense. And all of a sudden, we can really help many other wine producers, and not only in Bordeaux. We are looking at the moment in Italy, Spain, Portugal. So the project is going beyond the France.
So Arnaud, you've given us Le Secret des Grands Crus. You've given us a wonderful tour of the passion that you've put into this, and you've certainly whetted our appetite. How do we get to taste some of this wonderful wine?
We would love to do some wine dinners with you, obviously, and your clients. Usually, people have to be invited. It is done by members that invite other members or introduce them to us. And it's as simple as that, really. We organize dinners, and at the end of the dinner, if people want, they can join. And this is how it works.
Thank you. So everybody, thanks for joining us today. Arnaud, thank you for being here. You've alighted in us further passion for wine, and we will go away wondering how and when we will taste our first glass of SGC, and very much looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much for having me.